So it's day 63 of what was Operation Epic Fury. The President of the United States has came out today, sent a letter to Congress saying the operation is over. That's good. That's great. That's what a lot of people wanted. They wanted the operation to be finished. They also want the Strait of Hormuz to be reopened, and that is non-negotiable right now between the President of the United States and the IRGC, the Iranians. So we're keeping the strait closed. We're keeping a blockade in place, but we're not going to continue with Operation Epic Fury and some of these kinetic strikes. That's where we're at right now. This is all good and, great. But the one thing that we need is to get the Strait of Hormuz open, not under Iranian control. Now, a few months ago, the Iranians started dumping underwater mines into the strait. No ships have hit these yet, but that's where the Navy comes into play right now. And the Navy's job is not done to continue the blockade. And I believe we're going to try to clear the actual strait. Deployed these underwater drones to help clear the strait here. Iran itself doesn't know where the mines are anymore. They lost them. So we're sending robots down to clean up a mess that they can't even find. I want you to buckle in because I believe this technology that some of you don't know about is precisely the reason the United States Navy submarine service is so good, because we don't let this stuff out. But people like Northrop Grumman, the designers, they do release information with, some parameters that are set by the military. But Iran, by allowing these mines to just float around, they're almost begging for a ship to run into these. And if that were to happen, if a ship was to hit one of these, the Strait of Hormuz would be closed for a long time. It's only 21 miles wide, and funnily enough, 20% of the world's oil supply flows through there. I want to play this clip detailing exactly what kind of underwater capabilities that the United States Navy has. And it's really, it's going to blow your mind here.
The first of its kind underwater glider is here. Manta Ray is a new type of uncrewed underwater vehicle, or UUV. We successfully tested in open water for the first time. Manta Ray is designed with cutting-edge underwater glider technology that has never been applied at this scale. By incorporating numerous buoyancy engines, all working together efficiently, Manta Ray can operate for extended periods of time and travel long distances at a variety of depths. It can even anchor to the sea floor and hibernate until needed.
So here's the interesting part. Not only does it have a range of about 6,000 miles, it's got a depth capability of about 11,000 feet, but it can also anchor itself to the bottom of the ocean. It deploys this little pod with sort of like a rotor on it that will actually create its own energy. It will charge its own batteries using the current. So these things are autonomous, and you don't know where they are. You don't know how long they've been there. You don't know how much information they've been transmitting back, but they're mapping the ocean floor. They're mapping all of these hanging objects like a mine that you could see there in the background. They're mapping everything, and they're sending data back to these naval ships, these United States Navy submarines, so that they can continue to actually remove them. We don't even know if any mines have been removed yet. That's how good these are.
Manta Ray will support challenging undersea missions where humans can't go. This amazing UUV is one of our first deep sea vehicles to be designed digital.
Do you see this with the VR capabilities? More than likely, there is a pilot on a ship or on a submarine that is looking at this in real time and controlling, guiding. These are the only capabilities we know right now. But if you look at the front of this thing, it's got two sort of like sensors. Either those are sensors using sonar. Some of you don't know that term. It's sound navigation and ranging. Now, the speed of sound through water, that's how submarines operate, is you send out a signal and it bounces back and it comes back. That's active sonar. We also have passive sonar, which is we hear a noise And then through triangulation, through various sensors on the submarine, you can pinpoint where it is. And I believe that's exactly the same kind of capability here. And then you can also see this long cable coming back. That's either going to go to like a buoy up near the surface for it to transmit what it's seeing in real time, or it very well could be an umbilical where a submarine or a ship in the area is controlling this.
From start to finish, Manta Ray is making waves in autonomy, breaking new boundaries, and mastering the deep.
This is all Northrop Grumman. So they call it the Manta Ray, and you can see how big this thing is. It is huge. Look at the size of this compared to this rib. That rib's probably 16, 17 feet long. I would say the Manta Ray, the parameters that I found, it's got about a 32, 34 foot wingspan. And there's no sort of parameters on speed, but they did give a little bit about the depth. They did give a little bit about the range. And that is what's really interesting right now, because we know what kind of things are in the ocean there in the Strait of Hormuz. And if we have these sort of capabilities to get in and around and to go and find, detonate, diffuse, or just locate, that is exactly what we need to combat these mines, to remove the mines, to get some buy-in from these other countries, and then also to, get this capability further along so that we will never have to worry about mines there. We have minesweepers, but a lot of them have been retired. But now with these guys,
Navy. Developed by the Naval Research Laboratory of the U.S. Navy, the Manta Ray UUV is a long endurance, large displacement system appropriate for oceanographic study, mine countermeasures, and other naval uses. The Manta Ray is built to run at depths of up to 11,000 feet and has a range of over 6,000 nautical miles. Other UUVs are also used to do oceanographic research.
Now, this is another type of UUV. This will be controlled. This will be on an umbilical and controlled by a pilot. They use things like this, very similar, on the oil platforms to go and look for leaks, to go look for ruptures, and some of them even have capabilities with actual tools on the front of this. So we're getting into a level of technology right now that I don't believe anyone knew that we had, and they don't even really know what we're doing in the Strait of Hormuz. But when the Iranians started dumping these mines into the strait, they just dropped them over the side. No GPS, no logbook, no map. So it is a challenge because 20% of the world's oil goes through that strait, 20% of the world's natural gas. So if you mine the strait, you basically have your hand on the throttle of the global economy. And that's where the president came out today and said, you know what? We're not going to allow this to continue. We're not going to sign a deal with you. We are going to use the technology we have in place, and we're going to go and remove what you left. And we're going to get some of these other allies to buy in on this. We've got the United Arab Emirates. They left OPEC. That's going to be a big benefit because OPEC controls, or it has controlled since about the late 70s, how much a country could produce in oil. When you take that throttle off, and I think it keeps these countries producing about 70% of their actual capability. But when you remove that sort of obstacle, when you remove that level of limitations on a country, then that means that we have other options. And you can see here another article by the War Zone going into the president saying, he doesn't need congressional approval to continue the war. He, went into a ceasefire for 23 days. And now the president is saying, look, I don't need your approval anymore. We're going to keep the blockade in place. There is more aircraft. There is more artillery that's headed the way. We talked a little bit about this Dark Eagle land launched ballistic missile with about 1,725 mile range. I don't think that the president would bring that into the country if he was planning to just pull everything out. And a lot of people are going to say that this is a loss. This is a bad move by the president. But I don't think the president wants to put boots on the ground there. Is it off the table? I don't believe it's off the table. I just don't think that that's something that the president wants to do. You can see the letter here that he actually submitted to Congress. I write to inform you of changes in the posture of the United States forces in the AOR there. March 2nd are reported to Congress that on February 28th, the Air Force initiated Operation Epic Fury. On April 7th, I ordered a 2-week ceasefire. The ceasefire has been extended. There's been no exchange of fire between the United States and Iran since April 7th. The hostilities that began on February 28th have been terminated. Despite the success of the United States operation against the Iranian regime, continued efforts, we are going to keep a blockade there because the force remains significant. And the president just laid it out of why we need these sort of equipment, why we need things like this in the area, because we can't trust Iran to not go back in and put more mines down. They could very well do that. They could sabotage some of these other ships that are coming in and out. And that's why we're just not allowing it. So some of these destroyers by the Peterson, the Murphy, all these warships that are in that area are going to continue to regulate this. And I think that's exactly what needs to be done. And when you have autonomous vehicles, when you have these sort of underwater drones patrolling the area 24/7 with the capabilities that they have, Iran is still under a lot of pressure, a hell of a lot of pressure to come up with a solution. So where does this leave us? You know, we're day 63. Operation Epic Fury's on pause. We got a fragile ceasefire. We got a dual blockade since April 13, ours and theirs, and we're running on the same water at the same time. We've turned back, I think, 46 vessels so far. Secretary of War Hegseth told the House this week the whole ops cost between $25 billion, and the State Department's quietly asking allies to join something called the Maritime Freedom Construct. I don't know if any of these other countries are going to get involved or if we're going to have to go it alone. But basically, this is a coalition to keep the Hormuz Strait open going forward, bring down prices, bring down cost of oil, gas, fertilizer that goes through there. But first, we've got to get these mines out, and then we can allow or control our own channel. And I think that's what we're wanting to do. We're going to want to set up our own boundaries, our own barricades, and control it ourselves. This is dangerous because I think the Iranians, the longer that they are running out of cash, right now they've got about 4 days left of storage before they have to do something with these oil wells. And who knows, they could very well start dumping this stuff into the strait. That would make it even more difficult for ships to operate because of the cooling water that's brought in through the engine. Not only that, but it would be flammable. Who knows? We saw what Saddam Hussein did whenever he set the oil wells on fire. So I hope Iran doesn't go that way, but I wouldn't put anything past them because of this. But the strait has not changed. 2 blockades, ours that's working, and theirs that is very ineffective. Tomorrow, we're going to break down how Iran just forced the U.S. into this war powers fight. May 2nd, I don't know how Congress is going to respond to this letter, but the 60-day clock ran out today. I'm sure we're going to have a big legal showdown coming. Nobody on cable's talking about it, so we will. Christian, veteran, 20 years on submarines. This is Geopolitics without the spin. Subscribe at Navy Vet over on X. Hit the bell. Drop a comment with what you want me to break down next. Trident up. See you tomorrow.